What if ordinary people could access the royal family? The gates of a grand palace that open to a throng of everyday people. Hey guys. Imagine this. You're just your average Joe or Jane sipping your morning coffee when suddenly you get an invitation to stroll through Buckingham Palace. Not as a tourist taking pictures from behind ropes. No, full access. Chatting with the monarch over tea, peeking into royal diaries, maybe even influencing major decisions. Sounds thrilling, right? Or downright terrifying. Welcome to Specvio, from mind-bending what-if scenarios that make you think twice about the world we live in. And today, we're diving deep into one of the best hypotheses. What if ordinary people like you and me could access the royal family? We're talking about the British royals here. The Windsors, with their crowns, castles, and centuries-old secrets. Stay tuned, because today we'll uncover the real historical facts, weigh the pros and cons, and explore the fears that could turn that dream into a nightmare. If you're in the US, UK, Australia, Germany, or anywhere in Europe or Latin America, this one's for you. Let's speculate together. Hit that like button if you're already hooked, and let's jump in. The real history behind the velvet robe. Okay, everyone, before we start dreaming of having tea with William and Kate, we need to ground ourselves in reality, because this is just a fairy tale we're talking about. This is a 1,000-year-old institution that has literally survived invasions, civil wars, world wars, scandals, and the internet. Let's turn the clock back all the way to 1066. A guy named William, yes, the Conqueror, storms the English Channel, wins the Battle of Hastings, and basically says, "New order." From that moment on, the English, and later British monarchy, becomes the beating heart of power in the empire. We're talking 40 generations of kings and queens. 40, that's older than most countries on the planet. Fast forward through the drama: Henry VIII breaking with Rome and collecting wives like baseball cards. Elizabeth I staring down the Spanish Armada. Queen Victoria ruling a quarter of the world's population from a tiny island. And then we read down to 2025. King Charles III sits on the throne of a nation worth more than its GDP. Forbes estimates the personal wealth of the wider royal family at around $28 billion. Private estates: the Duchy of Lancaster, the crown jewels, which by the way contain the largest clear-cut diamond ever found, the Cullinan, I 530 carats, just chilling in the king of sovereigns. But here's the kicker. Despite all this wealth and history, the average person, you, me, your cousin in Sydney, your friend in São Paulo, or your neighbor in Berlin, has almost zero real access. Think about it. You can pay $30 and shuffle through Buckingham Palace in the summer when they're not home. Behind velvet ropes, behind armed guards, behind bulletproof glass. You can wave at them from the mall at Tripping the Color. You can read the Daily Mail while raving about Meghan's avocado toast, but a real conversation, a handshake, sitting down for 5 minutes, that's reserved for presidents, prime ministers, billionaires, and the occasional pop star who gets knighted. Queen Elizabeth II has met every US president from Truman to Biden. 13 in total, except Lyndon Johnson. 13. Yet in her entire 70-year reign, absolutely zero everyday Americans, Brits, Australians, or anyone else have been invited in for a private one-on-one chat simply because they're, well, normal. Now, zoom out a little. In Latin America, monarchies were abolished centuries ago. Simon Bolivar and friends made sure of that, so for many viewers in Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, the British royals feel like characters in a Netflix series, glamorous, distant, almost fictional. In Germany, the Kaiser abdicated in 1918 after World War I, and the country calls the crown Neue Wieder. So when Germans watch Windsor on TV, it's like watching a living museum exhibit, one they can't touch. That wall between them and us is no accident. It's been built deliberately, brick by brick, century after century. And history gives us some fascinating reasons. Let me take you to Paris, 1789. Bread prices are skyrocketing, people are starving, and rumors are circulating that Marie Antoinette is bathing in champagne while children are eating dirt. July 14th, a mob storms the Bastille prison. 3 years later, Louis XVI is on trial, and in January 1793, they behead him on what is now the Place de la Concorde. Between 16,000 and 40,000 people are executed during the French Revolution's reign of terror: nobility, clergy, and anyone who looks too handsome. France goes from absolute monarchy to republic in a bloodbath as the barrier between ruler and ruled breaks down in the worst possible way. Or go back to 1649 right here in Britain. Charles I becomes very comfortable with the idea of divine right to rule. Parliament says no, a civil war breaks out, and on a freezing January morning in London, outside the banqueting house, they behead their own king. For the first time in European history, a monarch is being publicly executed by his own people. It wasn't until the 20th century 1981 that Queen Elizabeth II was shot 6 blanks and 1 live round as she rode down the Mall on horseback. The boy was a young man looking for fame. He didn't flinch either, how real the threat still is. Each of these events sent a clear message to every royal household in Europe. Keep the gates high, keep the guards armed, and whatever you do, don't let the common people get too close when they're angry, frustrated, or just curious. And yet, here we are in 2025, with smartphones that give us more access to celebrities than kings had to their own subjects. So the question is more pressing than ever. What if those doors really did open? What if there really was an app called Royal Access, where you could book a 15-minute slot to talk about the climate with Prince William, help Princess Catherine choose charity projects, or have a cup of tea with the monarch and tell her what life is like here in the real world? It sounds incredibly democratic, almost too good to be true. And maybe that asks because history keeps whispering in our ears. Be careful what you wish for. I'm getting real chills right now. Half of me is so excited at the thought, and half of me is missing those guillotines. So tell me in the comments real quick, if that app existed tomorrow, would you download it and book a slot? Or would you keep scrolling and say, hard pass? Be honest, I want to know where you guys stand before we jump into the mind-blowing pros and scary cons. The bright side. Why opening the palace doors could actually change the world for the better. Okay. After all that heavy history, let's flip the script and talk about something that genuinely enlightens me. Because if those doors ever open, not in anger but an invitation, man, the good that could come from it is almost too big to wrap your head around. Let's break down the real, tangible, goosebump-inducing pros. Pros number 1. Basic transparency in a world of fake news right now. Every major institution is trusted in the toilet. Pew Research said in 2024 that only 22% of Americans trust the federal government. That's barely more than the UK, Brazil, 19%, Germany. People trust the Bundeswehr more than politicians. Now imagine this. Instead of reading a shady tabloid headline or a 240-character hateful ad, you get to sit down with Prince William face-to-face, Zoom, whatever, and ask him directly, hey, what's the real story behind this climate action? Or, you read a journalist in Sydney and you ask King Charles about reconciliation with First Nations people while he's literally telling Indigenous elder stories from the Dreamtime in Windsor Gardens. This isn't just transparency, it's the ultimate fact-checking, no brokering, no spin. Just humans talking to humans. In a world drowning in misinformation, that alone could be revolutionary. PRO number 2. Education on steroids. The Royal Collection is home to over 1 million objects. Rembrandts, Da Vinci notebooks, Fabergé eggs. The only surviving copy of a piece of the Bayeux tapestry. Things that would make the Louvre jealous. Right now, most of it sits in storage or behind ropes. What if schools in rural Colombia, outback Australia, or small-town Kansas could book live virtual tours with real curators and royals to answer questions? What if a 12-year-old girl from São Paulo asked Princess Catherine, "Why are you so concerned about early childhood?" and got a 10-minute answer that inspired her to become a teacher? The official royal website says the family supports more than 3,000 charities, mental health, conservation, literacy, cancer research, you name it. Open access means these causes don't just get vetted. They get millions of new volunteers who meet a royal, look them in the eye and think, wow, I can actually make a difference too. Pro number 3. Breaking the class ceiling once and for all. Let us be brutally honest, the British class system is still alive in 2025. A 2024 Sutton Trust report says that if your parents go to a private school, you are 25 times more likely to be in the top 1%. Oxfam says that the richest 1% in the UK own more than 70% of the wealth. Now picture this. A child from a council estate in Manchester wins the lottery. Fair, transparent, no connections required, and spends a day in the shadow of Prince George at a public engagement. Or a Liverpool dad gets the chance to host a roundtable on men's mental health with Harry. It's not just symbolic. It's life-changing. It screams to every child watching. The palace is not off limits because of your parents. It's open to you, and it won't just be British children. Imagine a young man from a favela in Rio, meeting the Duchess of Edinburgh, and pitching the royals on clean water projects in their neighborhood. He could one day rewrite his entire future. PRO number 4. Global Healing and Soft Power Supercharge. The British royal family is essentially the world's last working fairy tale. People who had never set foot in Britain were mourning the passing of Queen Elizabeth. Harry and Meghan's wedding drew 2 billion viewers, more than the Super Bowl. Open it up and you create moments that unite the planet. An Indigenous elder from Australia presents the monarch with a message stick on live TV. A Holocaust survivor from Germany shakes hands with Prince William at a reconciliation ceremony. A climate activist from Mexico plants a tree with Charles in the gardens of Buckingham Palace. These aren't just photo ops, these are memories that heal centuries of hurt. I'm getting emotional saying this out loud. Because at a time when the world feels more divided than ever, culture wars, border walls, online hate, watching regular people embrace living symbols of history can remind us all that we are actually one big, messy, beautiful human family. Close your eyes to me for 10 seconds. Picture a little girl from rural Texas. She may never have left her county, walking into the throne room, eyes wide, and Prince Louis waving at her like she's the most important person in the world. Picture a veteran from Melbourne who lost his comrades in Afghanistan sitting with Harry. No cameras, just two boys talking about things that keep him up at night. And walking lightly. Picture a university student from Berlin who had always felt the monarchy was outdated, leaving Windsor Castle after an argument with Princess Anne, whispering, "Okay, I get it now. This isn't policy, this is magic." This is the kind of hope you can't make up for. The music hits a triumphant peak, then slowly softens. Look, I'm not naive. I know it won't be all sunshine and corgis. We're about to talk about the terrifying ups and downs, because believe me, they're real and they're terrifying. But can we just sit in that feeling for a minute? Can we admit that the idea of those doors opening and the world rushing in with open arms instead of pitchforks? It's one of the most beautiful what-ifs I've ever discovered. So tell me in the comments, are you tearing up a little too, or am I just a hopeless romantic? Either way, grab a tissue, because then we're going to have to be brutally honest about the losses, the fears, and the real reasons why those doors have been closed for 1,000 years. Are you ready? Let's go there together. The dark side. Why this dream could turn into an absolute nightmare. Okay, everyone breathe with me. Because we just painted it. That beautiful, hopeful, open-door future. It could all come crashing down in a heartbeat. And when it does, it won't be pretty. It'll be tragic, chaotic, and maybe even deadly. Let's walk through the worst-case scenario step by step terrifyingly. Con number 1. The end of total privacy. Royals are human. They get sick. They fight with their spouses. Their children tease. They cry in isolation. Right now, there's a steel ring around those moments. Remove it, and every second becomes material. Imagine 10-year-old Princess Charlotte as she fails a math test, and some lucky guest live streams it on TikTok. Imagine King Charles is undergoing chemotherapy. We know he has cancer, and someone is hiding a phone photo of him bald and frail. Diana's 1997 death was no accident in space. The inquest ruled it an unlawful killing due to grossly reckless paparazzi pursuit. Now multiply that by 1 million people a day with smartphones and zero training. We won't just lose their privacy. We'll lose their humanity. And once that footage gets out, it never ends. Con number 2, a security lapse on a historic scale. The UK already spends around £120 to £150 million protecting the royals. 2024 Metropolitan Police figures. It's a private army, snipers on rooftops, plainclothes officers in every crowd, bomb-proof cars, panic rooms. Now picture 5,000 random citizens a day passing through Buckingham Palace, Windsor, Balmoral. No metal detectors at every door, no NDA, no background checks deep enough to catch the quiet ones. 1981, marksman sergeant fires 6 blank shots at Queen Elizabeth II during the Trooping the Colour. She doesn't even flinch. 1994, a man crashes a light aircraft into the palace gardens as a protest. 2021, Jaswant Singh Chell scaled the walls of Windsor Castle on Christmas Day with a loaded crossbow, telling his Snapchat that he was there to kill the Queen for the Jallianwala Bagh of 1919. He came within feet of her bedroom door. They were with the walls. Tear down the walls, and every extremist, every mentally ill person, every person with a grudge, every terrorist group looking for a symbolic target gets a golden ticket. A knife, a gun, A vial of ricin in the wrong hands, and a 1,000-year bloodline ends in a viral clip. And it's not just the UK. In Germany, the far-right AfD is polling at record highs. In Brazil, Bolsonaro supporters stormed government buildings on January 8, 2023. Imagine the energies aimed at lighting symbols of empire and tradition. The fear is not ideological. It's already boiling. Con number 3, the death of magic and monarchy itself. According to the latest data from YouGov, 2025, 62% of Britons say the monarchy is important to national identity. Why? Because it's the last fairy tale we all agree to believe in. Take away the mystery and you're left with a wealthy family in an old house arguing about laundry. We've seen it happen to celebrities. Kim Kardashian was once untouchable. Now we see her crying over a lost earring and arguing with her mother on Hulu. The magic is broken. Do it to the crown and suddenly Charles I.S.T. King, he's just the guy who talks to plants and gets caught wishing he was a tampon on a leaked phone call. William I.S.T. the future of the nation, he's the bald prince who got into a shouting match with Harry over the bride's dress. The Sufi dies, tourism is dying, soft power dies. And once enough people say, why are we paying for these people again? The monarchy itself might die. Peacefully, perhaps. With a referendum, or not so peacefully. Con number 4. Access through weapons and global resentment. Open the doors and watch the culture wars. Opponents of the monarchy are booking slots just to scream in the monarch's face on camera. Conspiracy theorists are demanding to see the lizards. Basement. Foreign governments send tourists to plant bugs or gather information. And the resentment of countries that have never apologized for colonialism. Imagine a descendant of the Momo rebellion in Kenya spending 5 minutes with the monarch. And the clip goes viral with 300 million views in the caption, he just sat there and said nothing. The Commonwealth could collapse overnight. Con number 5. The human toll we can't see. The royals will burn out. Fast. We saw with Harry and Meghan, one taste of relentless scrutiny and they moved to California. Multiply that by 1,000. The younger royals will run away. The older ones will retreat into depression or illness. We'll be left watching a family slowly implode in real time, and the blame will be on all of us. Pause. Let the silence sit for a full 3 seconds. The music is barely there, just a low drone. I'm not going to lie. My stomach is in knots right now. Because everything I just described, this isn't sci-fi. This is what happens when you take something sacred, or at least carefully protected, and throw it to the wolves of the internet age. Soft, almost whisper. Ask yourself, could you handle 1 million strangers knowing you're having your worst day? Would your kids? That's what we'll be asking them. Then the voice got louder but still heavy, so yeah. Thrilling in theory, heart-stopping in practice. Leave a comment now, honestly. After hearing all this, do you still want to open the doors? Or are you suddenly fine with velvet ropes? I need to know where your head is because it hurts to even think about it, okay? In a minute we're going to try to land this plane and figure out if there is a middle ground between fairy tale and complete chaos. Stay with me. This is the part where it all comes together. So to wrap it up, what if ordinary people had access to the royal family? The benefits: transparency, inspiration, equality could revolutionize society, but the downsides and fears: privacy breaches, security threats, cultural erosion could cause havoc. It's a double-edged sword, mixing hope with fear. What ifs with facts. What do you think? Would it change the world for the better or for the worse? If it makes your mind wander, smash that like button and subscribe to Specvio for more speculation. We're based right here in the US, bringing global what ifs to your screen. Don't forget to hit the bell for notifications. Thanks for hanging out with me today. You're the best listener ever. If you like this, give us a thumbs up and share it with a friend. And hey, why not join the Specvio family? Subscribe now. It's free, fun, and full of surprises. Catch you in the next one. Stay curious, America and beyond. Goodbye for now.